was flooded with the press releases here. So Metallica has been forced to pull out of several of their upcoming festivals slated for this year due to frontman James Hetfield's continued recovery following another stint in rehab. The band has canceled headlining performances at 2 festivals, Sonic Temple in Columbus, Ohio in May, and the Louder Than Life Festival in Louisville, Kentucky later on in September. According to the band, they will still play other previously announced festivals this year. Epicenter in May, Welcome to Rockville in May, and Aftershock in October. Going back to those aforementioned canceled dates, the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Tool have both been announced as replacement headliners for Sonic Temple, as Metallica was previously announced to do two headlining sets on 2 different days at that festival. Changes to Louder Than Life will be announced down the road. Refunds and exchanges are being offered. If you want to comment, Eddie, I also have a statement in part from James Hetfield right here.
Yeah, well, the only thing I'll say is this. I sensed this was going to happen. I know. Let me just say I have some well-placed sources in the Metallica camp. I'll leave it at that. And there was concern about this being an issue a while ago. And I don't think it's all that shocking to certain people that this has happened. The good news is, well, as you'll find out from the statement James has released, the good news is that James is committing to doing the other shows and doing stuff throughout the balance of the year, but he has a conflict on the 2 events he's canceling out of because of something to do with his recovery. Here's the thing that's also interesting. So, as many of you know, if you were listening last Thursday, I didn't get a chance to talk about this earlier because I forgot I wasn't on Friday. So Thursday night here in LA, I hosted the DO Cancer Fund's 10-year memorial fundraiser event here in LA at Avalon. And I was walking down the street that afternoon when I got off the air here. And literally somebody at a traffic light recognized me and yelled out, "Yo, Eddie Trunk." And I'm like, I waved and they go, "Hey, are you going to the Eddie Money thing tonight? Are you here for the Eddie Money thing?" Just a fan. I didn't know who the guy was. And he was at a traffic light, literally. And I was just like, "Eddie Money thing?" I said, "No, I'm here for the Dio thing." He goes, "Oh, no, there's an Eddie Money thing tonight." So I knew nothing about this Eddie Money memorial that took place also on Thursday night. Also on Thursday night, Ozzy rented out the Rainbow and had a release party or something for his records. There was a lot that went on Thursday night here in LA. I hosted the Dio Memorial as I was scheduled to do. But then I had friends that were at this Eddie Money Memorial, and they sent me video, and there's James Hetfield on stage singing an Eddie Money song. So we know that James was out of rehab. He was there for a long time, and I took it as a really positive sign that he was out at a public event and performing. So that made me believe, because about a month ago, someone put in my ear that this could happen with some of the Metallica shows. And seeing James performing and out and about led me to believe that, oh, maybe he's good now. He's ready to go. But according to his statement, and Ed, you can read more into it, read whatever bullet points, but he has some conflicts that are, I guess, meetings or something to do with his recovery that cannot be moved off of those weekends.
That is correct. He says, in part, as part of my continuing effort to get and stay healthy, I have critical recovery events on those weekends that cannot be moved. I apologize to all of our fans who have bought tickets for these festivals. He adds to that, looking on the brighter side, my therapy is going well. It was absolutely necessary for me to look after my mental, physical, and spiritual health.
Look, nothing's more important than health. I've said that about Ozzy. I mean, it blows my mind Ozzy still is talking about touring. Why? I mean, and we all know he's canceling dates again, left and right. But why? You know, with James, it's a little different. But still, I mean, you got to respect if the guy is struggling to be healthy and well and sober, and he has to do these things. And I can't sit here and talk about addiction or issues like that because I'm fortunate I've never had any. So I don't know anything about what goes on with meetings and these recoveries and what you have to go through. But obviously, nothing's more important than the guy getting it together. And it took everybody by surprise that this happened to begin with. I mean, I talked to a lot of people, and they were shocked when Hetfield went back into rehab and had to deal with all this again because they just didn't see it coming. And I spent time personally talking to James at the Chris Cornell tribute here in LA at the Forum. And he was completely together and happy and seemed great. But you don't know what's really going on in someone's head. So get well, James Hetfield. The folks that are putting these events on have done the right thing in putting major acts as replacements, and also a really respectable thing in offering refunds if you don't want to see the bands that they're putting up instead of Metallica. So there's nothing. It sucks across the board if you're a fan and you're traveling and you were going to go to those shows specifically to see Metallica and that's what it was all about for you. I get it. But in the same token, you've got a decent amount of lead time notice here. And if you don't like what the replacement acts are, in this case, Chili Peppers and Tool, they are offering refunds, right?
Not only that, they're offering refunds, or you can exchange. I mean, you'd have to reorganize your travel plans, which may be more tedious, but you can exchange tickets for either of those two festivals for the other Danny Wimmer Presents festivals that Metallica is still going to play this year.
So it couldn't have been handled in a better way, right? I mean, all options are on the table. There's enough lead time that hopefully you don't get burned on any sort of travel. We all know there's so many of these festivals now, you really don't have to travel all that extensively to get to them because a lot of them have very similar bills and are, there's 8, 10, whatever there are every summer. So you've got everything. I mean, it couldn't have been handled better. If you don't like what they've replaced it with, go get your refund and you're good. Or go change out to go to one of the shows Metallica say they are committed to playing. And that's the other interesting thing in James and in James's statement is that he is saying that he is making a full commitment to play the other festivals and all other Metallica dates, including stuff outside of the US. He literally ran down stuff in other countries. I can tell you, because look, the concern here, if you remember when James Hetfield had his issues last time around, they were worried about him even coming back to the band at all. Because if you're dealing with substance abuse issues, I would imagine the most challenging place to be is in a gigantic touring rock band where you can literally snap your fingers and have somebody bring you anything you want. So very wisely, he's doing what he has to do here. But I think the big plus, if you're a fan of Metallica wanting to see them continue, is that James is committed to doing these shows and continuing. It's not one of these cases like previous where they actually have to pull him back around to even want to do the band. He's certainly not at that point, which is a great thing. So, look, I feel for the fans that this impacted, but the folks at Danny Wimmer Presents couldn't have done a better job in getting the word out and offering the fans every possible concession to make it right. And we'll keep an eye on the story. Ed, there's another major story.